In the time it takes you to watch this video, the US debt will increase by 42,150,000 US dollars approximately. Financially speaking, the US is bleeding out from every artery, and historians will look back and marvel at how, up until 2025, everyone just carried on as if nothing was wrong.
'Tis but a scratch.
But hey, all is not lost, because it is 2025 and we've got DOGE on the case. Like a crack team of surgeons, they'll stem the bleeding and save the patient. Right? Well, they'll try, but that might be harder than you think. And at this point, it is literally DOGE or die for the United States of America. My name's Topher Field, this is the Topher Project, and I help people like you to understand the world around you as it changes. And there is a possibility that we have to understand, which is that the US might be a lost cause. Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment that we should give up or that they should stop doing everything they can to save themselves. On the contrary, today I'm going to paint you a picture so that you can understand just how gargantuan their task is and the sacrifices that they need to make if they're going to survive this. The DOGE team are certainly doing their best to save the United States from bleeding out financially and experiencing a total economic collapse, and I have absolute faith that they will do all that they can. But I'm not yet sure that the US is a patient that can be saved from itself. On the one hand, we have the Democrats screaming blue murder after every tiny budget cut, insisting that every dollar spent was essential and that every cut is a crime. And then we have the judges and the activists doing everything in their power to obstruct DOGE and thwart its efforts to stem the bleeding. And then there's the haters mocking the DOGE team for not doing enough, whilst they themselves are not lifting a finger to help. Elon Musk and the whole DOGE team have their work cut out for them. And if I can switch up my analogy for a moment, think of them as a team of engineers trying to stop a runaway train before it careens into a canyon. Meanwhile, the passengers are divided into people complaining about the noise and the disruption of their efforts on the one hand, and other passengers mocking them for not stopping it faster on the other. How do we wrap our heads around this? Well, first let's understand the scale of the problem. There's a website called usdebtclock.org, and it's terrifying, or at least it would be if any of us could truly comprehend the implications of the numbers that we're looking at. These numbers that you're seeing were valid at the time of recording, but will be long obsolete by the time I have the video edited and uploaded. But I want to draw your attention to the top left-hand corner as you look at it, where you'll see the total US debt, well over $36 trillion, which is an amount of money so big that it's impossible to comprehend. I'll try to put it into some perspective using time instead of dollars. 1,000 seconds is a little bit over 16.5 minutes long, or to say it differently, there's 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. So that's thousands, that's pretty easy to get your head around. What about millions? Well, a million seconds is about 11.5 days. Okay, so far so good. A billion seconds is about 31.5 years. So most people won't even get 3 billion seconds in their lives. But a trillion seconds? That's 31,709 years. 36 trillion seconds, the amount of US debt in dollars? Well, that's 1,141,552 years. Now, I don't know if that helps, or if that just confuses things even more, but the amount of money the US owes isn't even the problem. It's the rate at which it's growing, or essentially the rate of the arterial bleeding. In 2024, that US debt grew by $2.3 trillion, or $74,000 per second. Per second. That's 70,000, 140,000, 210,000, 280,000, 350,000, and on it goes every second, day and night. And that's just the increase in debt per second. That's not the total spending per second. Now, working against that flood of debt is the DOGE team, who set themselves a target of saving US taxpayers $1 billion a day. Well, whew, $1 billion a day, that'll stop the bleeding surely, right? That train will come grinding to a halt and never fall into the canyon, right? And all the passengers will cheer as they realize that their lives have been saved by the selfless work of the crack team of DOGE engineers, right? No. Saving $1 billion a day won't stop the bleeding, or the train, as the case may be. It just means that instead of the debt increasing by $73,000 every second, it's increasing by only $62,000 every second. That's 60, 120, 180, 240, 300,000. Is that better? Sure, in the same way that slowing down an arterial bleed is better than not. In the same way that your train taking longer to reach the cliff is better than not. But when that patient runs out of blood, or the train runs out of track, the result is going to be the same. And please hear me when I say this. This is not a criticism of the DOGE team. They are literally the only ones who seem to care or are doing anything about anything. But think about what they've done so far. The cuts that they've found. USAID, Department of Education, some Pentagon savings, etc. It's truly impressive how fast they've been able to work and how much they've cut in so little time. But consider that to actually balance the budget and stop this bleeding, to actually stop this train, will require them to cut spending 7 times faster than what they've been doing, and to keep that up for an entire year. Now, I have no doubt that the DOGE team would absolutely love to deliver on those life-saving cuts if they could. But as time goes on, those cuts will become harder and harder to find, and the political cost of the cuts will start to increase. My fear isn't so much that the DOGE team won't be able to find the savings. There's no doubt that they're there if you keep looking. My fear is that the American people will stop tolerating the cuts, that they will become fatigued from all of the confected outrage in the media from the Democrats and just want it to stop. And if they get what they want, if they stop DOGE after it's only saved a few $100 billion, and just stop and think about what an insane sentence that is. If they only save a few $100 billion, then, well, the patient is doomed. Now, that's not to say that a collapse would be total or immediate, but it would be devastating and inevitable. DOGE is genuinely the last real chance of avoiding a terrible financial collapse involving massive inflation and quite possibly having to replace the old US dollar with a new one, defaulting on their debt, and then, if history is a guide, war will quickly follow. It's hard to say exactly what it would look like, but the best case scenario of a US collapse is probably something like the collapse of the Soviet Union. The worst case scenario is probably something like the collapse of the German Weimar Republic. Now, life will, of course, go on after a collapse. It always does. The buildings will be there, the people will still be there, the sun will rise, and the rain will fall. God's creation really doesn't care at all about the economy. But people will get hurt, and I mean hurt. Ironically, the people that'll be hurt the most are the people who right now are complaining about DOGE. It's the people trying to stop DOGE, the ones mocking DOGE, the ones complaining about every cut and pretending that every dollar of spending is essential. They are the ones who will get hurt. But also, along with them, it will be the most vulnerable, that will be the hardest hit. People on low incomes, fixed incomes, the disabled, the down on their luck. You think it's hard to be poor or disabled in the age of DOGE? Wait till you experience what it's like to be poor or disabled in a world where DOGE has failed. At this point, it is literally DOGE or die for the United States of America, and I really don't think that enough Americans have figured that out yet. Hopefully this video can help to change that a little bit, because the only thing that we can say for certain is that if they don't stem the bleeding, if the DOGE team don't stop this runaway train, then what happens next won't be good for any of us. My name's Topher Field. This is the Topher Project, and I help people like you to understand the world as it changes around us. Please share this video, especially with any Americans you know. And leave me a like, a comment, subscribe, and grab a copy of my books and merch from goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com. And I'll see you in the next one.